The safest shot on a floodwall was the one Nessa Vale refused. It was also the shot that could lose North Relay. At 21:40, the storm window had 4 hours and 20 minutes left. Two silhouettes overlapped in broken cover. Nessa turned Mira toward the flank instead. Rake escaped, and Kite pulled after the wrong-looking movement. Rain smeared the exposed figure into the darker body crossing behind him, giving Nessa 2 shoulders, then 1, and never a face she could hold, is less than #0. 5# is greater than. The second man kept drifting toward a break in the wall, where any shot would announce her position before she knew what was rising beneath it. Mira, leave the center. South break, now. I see the gap. Not the gap, under it. Mira Kent dropped from the upper lip and disappeared behind a slab of broken concrete. A shape rose from the drainage side with both hands forward. Mira struck the arms aside, turned the man away from Owen's open side, and forced him back into the rain. The exposed figure turned at once, gaining seconds, and a wall while Mira denied the hidden approach is less than #0. 5# is greater than. Nessa had traded a doubtful target for a usable passage, and someone in Vesper had been positioned to see the trade. Movement west, June Arlen said through a field link, broken by static. 1 upright, maybe 2 behind him. I can't confirm, Rake. Nessa shifted to keep the western man in sight. Her boots skated on the wet concrete, and when she caught the parapet with her left hand, her right shoulder struck hard enough to send heat down the arm. The rifle stayed with her, but the sight picture wavered when she raised it again. She lowered the muzzle before the tremor could become somebody else's problem. It is less than #0. 4# is greater than. Nessa Dev Mercer called. Shoulders limited. I'm moving. Can you hold weight? Enough for this. Keep Cal clear. Cal Rowan crossed behind her and looked into the flooded service channel. West ramp is taking water. We get 1 clean pass before it becomes a wade. Then we don't spend it here. Below them, Mira held the flanker against the narrow side of the break. He fired into concrete and used the noise to fall away, while another Vesper fighter dragged him behind a rain-dark barrier. Nessa saw no clean angle and did not invent one. Mira, released south. Push them off the crossing is less than #0. 4# is greater than. They're giving ground. Shape it north of west. Don't follow the wounded one. Mira paused for half a beat, measuring the runner she could still reach. Owen's outside stays open. That choice mattered before Nessa understood why. 20 yards back, Owen Pierce stood with Kite, braced into a wet working harness. The Dutch shepherd pointed away from the retreat that looked most urgent, paws scraping for purchase, while the lead drew hard toward a lower channel running north. He never broke direction, Owen said. Strong pull through the lower cut. Rain is stripping detail, not the line, is less than #0. 4# is greater than. The western figure reached the next barrier, under disciplined, brief covering fire. He moved like a man who still expected obedience, which could make him Rake, but it did not make the earlier shot clean, and did not make this one clean now. June, western barrier. I saw 3 separate after Mira turned the flank. 1 crossed west, 2 dropped north and lower. Identity, unconfirmed. Any move toward the relay? Sound under the wind, northward. Heard, not seen. North relay pulsed beyond the basin. A fixed white light appearing between sheets of rain is less than #0. 4# is greater than. If Vesper reached it before the storm window closed, rising water would make every later approach slower and more expensive. Nessa had stopped the immediate flank, but the crossing remained open. Cal, viable route. Lower cut, then service cut. Faster now, worse every minute. Dev, everyone mobile. Your right side is losing range. I know what it's losing. Mira climbed over the broken lip, breathing hard but steadily. South pair dispersed. 1 needed help. I can stay on them. No. Close Owens outside and keep them separated. You want the dog's line over the west runner is less than #0. 4# is greater than I want, both treated as incomplete. We keep north and deny the easy join. Owen shortened Kite's lead as the dog strained toward the lower channel. He's committed. That means the source continues there. It does not rank the people we saw. Could the west movement be bait? Mira asked. Shared contact, contamination, or a clean escape could all look like this, Owen said. I can't sort them in this rain. Then don't sort them. Report behavior. I'll rank the threat. A short burst from the western barrier held heads down without recovering the crossing is less than #0. 5# is greater than Nessa. Kept her damaged shoulder close and moved 7 toward the lower cut, while Mira covered the exposed side. Cal chose the last firm steps above the water, and Dev stayed between Owen and June's trailing position. 20 minutes used, June said. Rake identification remains unconfirmed. Vesper movement is split. And north relay. Clear from here. Storm window closes at 2. Nessa looked once toward the western barrier. The upright figure had vanished with enough organized force to remain dangerous, and a surviving Vesper fighter watched Mira protect Owen's side before withdrawing into the rain, is less than #0. 5# is greater than we damaged them, Mira said. We didn't break them. No. Nessa lowered the rifle when the shoulder began to shake. Counter pursuit. Owen leads the lower cut. Mira owns the outside. Nobody chases a silhouette. Kite drove north against the wet harness, while westward footsteps faded behind concrete, louder and more human than the direction he held. At 2200, 7 followed the route that looked least like Rake's escape. The lower channel narrowed around Owen and Kite, stretching 7 into single file, while each step sent a fresh jolt through Nessa's shoulder is less than #0. 5# is greater than. She kept the arm near her ribs and gave Mira the exposed side. Water's rising faster in the center, Cal said. Service cut is firm along the north edge. South costs time and footing. North edge, Mira outside, Dev with June. Keep moving. Metal walls replaced the open flood wall, and rain rattled through the grates overhead until every footfall seemed to arrive twice. North Relay's white pulse appeared only when the channel opened ahead, then vanished again behind concrete. Kite slowed at the first flooded seam, worked 2 short arcs with his head low, and drove forward once he recovered the trace. Is less than #0. 5# is greater than water. Widened his path, but the pull remained north. Same direction, less detail, direction only, no history or ranking, Owen said. Before a slick turn, Owen shortened the lead and squared his body toward Kite, narrowing his attention while his outside hand became occupied. 10 seconds later, metal scraped above the south edge. High right, Mira said. Heard first. One shape, now. A Vesper fighter dropped from the grate ahead and ran south across the shallow channel. A second appeared behind Owen, close enough to threaten the handler's passage, but too far back to close without crossing Mira's view, is less than #0. 5# is greater than. Neither man moved toward the direction Kite held. The front fighter made the invitation obvious. He looked over his shoulder, slowed at a side passage, and waited long enough to be certain 7 had seen him. Pair, June said. Front man visible. Rear movement confirmed once. Nothing ties either one to Rake. He wants pursuit, Mira said. Her weight had already shifted. Give me 20 seconds. Nessa measured the request by what it would uncover. Mira could overtake the front man, but Owen would enter the next open section with only Nessa's damaged side between him and the rear fighter, is less than #0. 5# is greater than Kite's northward trace would also go unwatched. No chase. Push him into the passage and come back. Mira's jaw tightened before she moved. I'll make him spend it. She changed angle without following, forcing the front fighter deeper into the south passage. He fired once into the ceiling and withdrew as the report rolled along the metal walls, masking whatever the rear man did next. Rear moved, Owen said. Kite held north. I need the outside clear. It doesn't have to be empty. June, watch the rear opening. Dev, give her the wall. Cal, find us one crossing. Not a solution. Is less than #0. 5 is greater than Cal. Leaned far enough to see the water beyond Owen. 8 yards exposed. North rail is stable. South rail puts us beside that passage. North rail. Mira, collapse on my voice. Coming back now. The front fighter broke farther south when Mira refused the pursuit. Behind Owen, the second man stepped out, found June's sightline and Dev's protected position, then slipped through a maintenance notch. Nessa could not tell whether the timing came from observation or ordinary competence, but it followed Owen's visible handling posture closely enough to matter.
"Don't close the notch," she said. "Make him leave north alone." June struck the concrete beside the opening twice, and the rear fighter withdrew west rather than cross toward Kite. Mira returned before the man in the south passage could turn her movement into another invitation. "Front one still running," Mira said. "Rear one went west. You saw the first. What do you know about the second?" He cleared the notch west. After that, nothing. "Good. Keep it that narrow." They crossed on the north rail while runoff slapped the supports below and turned every vibration into a false approach. Nessa moved behind Owen instead of beside him, using her left hand on the wall so the injured shoulder did not have to carry the open span. Mira took the exposed end and walked backward until the south passage disappeared. "Time," Nessa said. 22:18, June answered. "Front hostile displaced south. Rear hostile seen leaving west through the notch, then lost, no further visual." The cleaner capture had gone with them, but so had their chance to threaten Owen's route. Nessa accepted the exchange without mistaking discipline for safety. Mira glanced back toward the vanished passage. "They made us show what matters." "They saw one answer," Nessa said. "What they build from it is still unconfirmed. Rake won't need many answers if he keeps asking. Then we stop giving him the same shape." Before the cut widened again, Nessa changed the order. "Mira, take forward pressure. Cal, stay where Owen can hear root cost. June, trail left, not behind him. Dev, float between. I hold the outside until the next wall." Dev looked at her right arm. "How long does that side hold?" "One wall, then somebody else owns it." At 22:25, Kite shortened his stride. His ears turned toward a metal echo ahead, while the harness remained loaded north, and Owen raised one closed hand. "He still has the line," Owen said. "That sound is separate." June's link cracked before Nessa could answer. Multiple footfalls ahead, north side heard only, range unknown. They had expected the next clear view beyond the widening, but the sound spread behind concrete before the opening came into sight. 2 minutes early, Cal said. Nessa lifted her left hand and stopped 7 short of the unseen span. The bait pair had failed to pull them south. Whatever came next had already begun. Pressure reached 7 before the maintenance span came into view. Impact struck concrete beyond the widening, and the footfalls behind them carried different weights and different levels of fatigue. "One rhythm drags," Mira said. "Another stays even, hard breathing north of the opening." Nessa kept her left hand on the wall and lifted her right arm only far enough to signal. The shoulder could no longer hold a stable load, but it could still direct people. "Mira, keep the north side, do not fold toward Owen." "I have north." "Cal, give Owen one support angle, no more." Cal moved behind Owen without crossing Mira's path, while Dev stayed between June and the center. The formation reached the span as the structure trembled under running weight and wind pushed through the exposed gap. 2 Vesper fighters appeared first. One favored a leg. The other had to turn his whole body to breathe between short bursts of fire. They were still dangerous, but every recovery took them longer. "First pair is spent," Cal said. Yielding across the metal, not breaking. 2 more men entered from the far opening with matched steps and closed mouths. One took over the pressure without pausing, while the other crossed behind him and drove toward Myra's side. Second pair is moving clean, Mira said. They're replacing the tired two. June's voice came through static. First pair withdrawing east, 2 new bodies entering from north, identity unconfirmed. Kite reached the seam where the groups crossed, and his harness slackened for half a second. He turned toward the retreating men, checked the wet metal, then loaded north again. Owen waited through 3 steps and another stop before he spoke. He checked where they crossed. Overall direction still north. I need 90 seconds to see whether he settles. Cal watched the east shutter descend along its track. 90 puts us behind that door if it keeps dropping. Could be contamination or shared contact, Owen said. If we move now, we carry the uncertainty into the pump house. The request was defensible. So was the cost. The fresh fighter nearest Myra widened his angle, leaving a deliberate opening beside Owen. The placement looked built around a full reinforcement from the north. Though Nessa could not know who had designed it, or what report had reached them. 90 seconds, she said. Mira stays north, Cal supports Owen from center, Dev cover June's crossing. Myra glanced back once. They expect me to leave this side. Let them spend men on that expectation. Owen shortened Kite's lead and walked him across the seam. The dog checked the retreating path again, less strongly, then returned to the northward pull without giving Owen a cleaner answer. The fresh fighter committed farther onto the span while his partner waited near center for Mira to collapse. North stays mine, keep Owen centered, Mira said. Cal exposed just enough space beside Owen to draw the center man forward. And Mira crossed a single step instead of the whole distance. North scout is alone, she said. Keep him out of center. Cal stays with Owen. The span shuddered when the scout tried to recover. He collided with the exhausted pair near the far end, struck the lower barrier, and dropped onto a maintenance shelf below. One tired fighter stopped to reach him, while the other turned back instead of continuing his withdrawal. June leaned far enough to see the shelf. Scout is down and moving. He is not returning to contact. The other 3 are trying to clear him toward the stairs. Cost to them? Nessa asked. Formants if they recover him, Cal said. The shutter lowered another foot. Less than 2 for us to cross. Then we cross. Mira held the north edge while Owen and Kite moved first. Cal stayed beside them until the dog cleared the vibrating seam, and Dev brought June through behind them. Nessa went last. Wind caught her halfway across, and her right shoulder failed when she tried to steady the rifle. She trapped it against her ribs with the left hand and kept moving as the shutter descended behind her. 30 seconds, Cal called. When that meets the deck, the easy approach is gone. Owen waited on the far side, his face set toward the dog rather than Nessa. Kite settled north. The checkback still does not tell me why. Nessa held his gaze for a moment. Blame would have been easier than the truth, and less useful. Then that is what we carry forward. They cleared the span before the shutter sealed. Beyond it, a Vesper fighter on the landing pulled a release. And a steel barrier dropped across the direct approach to North Relay. The closure may have been planned before the scout fell, or it may have answered the delay. Nessa only knew the 90 seconds had helped make it possible. Mira tested the barrier with one hand. No passage without spending time we do not have. Cal checked the water and the service marks along the wall. Direct route is closed. Pump house adds 20 minutes if nothing touches us, and more if the water climbs. June listens through the broken link. 3 hostiles leaving the span, 1 still supporting the scout. Their contact strength is reduced, not gone. Owen started to speak, then stopped. Nessa spared him the apology he had not offered. Keep the dog north, she said. I'll carry the route cost. At 2250, the steel barrier settled against the deck with a final vibration under Nessa's boots. 7 turned toward the longer pump house approach, while the meaning of the replacement remained unresolved. The longer approach narrowed between concrete and wet service doors, before feeding 7 into the pump house. Machinery hammered behind the walls, flattening distance until a scrape nearby sounded like a footstep 20 yards ahead. 5 minutes to the main passage, Cal said. Reserve route runs behind the pumps. Keep it available, Mira forward. Owen and Kite center, June left with Dev. Show me the exit before we need it. The first service door stood open. Mira stopped outside it, watching a loose cable sway in the stale air. Something moved inside, she said. Could be the pumps, could be closer. Kite maintained the northward pull, and Owen kept him moving. Direction continues. Nothing else from him. A scrape slipped beneath the machinery, first ahead and then inside the room. Nessa changed the team before the room could do it for her. Don't crowd the opening. Mira takes the passage. I hold the room. Myra crossed. A Vesper fighter came off the wall beyond her and drove her shoulder into the rail, while a second man moved through the room toward Owen's exposed side. Owen, continue, Cal with him. Dev closes the rear. June stays on my voice. Nessa stepped in far enough to turn the second man from the doorway. Her right shoulder folded under his weight and struck the wet housing, stealing her breath. The fighter felt the weakness and came again. Nessa gave him space instead of strength. He followed into the narrowing gap beside the housing, losing room to turn while Dev blocked the rear passage. One inside with Nessa, June said. Mira has one beyond the wall, I see no third. Hold the door, do not come deeper. The man shifted toward June. Nessa put the housing at his back and made him scrape sideways through a space too narrow for speed. The wall carried the force her shoulder could not. Rear passage clear for now, Dev said. I can close it or help you, not both. Close it. Beyond the room, Mira hit the rail hard enough to ring the metal. Her opponent had turned toward the reserve gate, using the machinery noise to hide each change of direction. He has the pump side, Mira called. I can lose him or lose the gate. Keep the gate. I already chose it. Mira gave him one step toward the latch, then met him at the gate and drove his weight into wet metal. The latch stayed beyond his hand. Nessa's opponent heard the impact and tried to pull away. Right arm could not hold him, so she took away the path instead. June, light the floor. Dev, show the rear opening. June's beam crossed the concrete. The fighter saw Dev behind him and Mira at the gate. His breath caught between two closed exits, giving Nessa time to pin him against the housing. June entered only when resistance stopped. Dev moved the weapon out of reach, then returned to the passage he had chosen to hold. Alive, June said. Breathing hard, one arm is not working, he cannot continue. Keep him visible, no questions. Mira's opponent struck her shoulder while turning for the main passage. She kept her footing and denied him the center. Second fighter is leaving east, she said. I can chase him or keep the reserve gate. The gate. Mira let the man go. He disappeared through the main passage, but the route behind the pumps remained closed to him. The machinery changed pitch, and water spilled beneath the reserve gate. Cal's voice carried from beyond the center. Seal released when the housing shifted. Water is over the lower step already. Can the route hold? Not long enough to use. Nessa tried to raise her right arm and felt the shoulder slide beneath the effort. She lowered it before the weakness could become another opening. Dev noticed. High range is gone. For now my left hand gives direction. Mira owns close pressure. Mira returned, breathing evenly despite the mark rising on her shoulder. Captive stable? June looked at the man, then at the door she would have to defend alone. Alive, disarmed, and not fighting me, I can keep him or keep moving with you. You keep him. The captive stared past them and offered nothing. Owen brought Kite to the doorway. The dog did not change for him. He is not an answer, Nessa said. He is a burden we keep alive. A burst sounded outside the pump house, closer than the previous interval allowed. June turned her head toward the wall. Impacts east side, heard only, no visual. Cal checked the time. 23:16. They closed the interval. How much room do we have? Enough to leave now, not enough to fight here again. Moving the prisoner would slow them. Leaving him unguarded would erase the capture. June already understood. One degraded link, Nessa said. Keep him away from the doors and report what you can prove. June held her gaze a moment longer than usual. You are taking 5 forward. 5 mobile, 6 alive. June shifted her grip and settled beside the captive. Then don't make me count fewer on the return. Dev started to answer, but Nessa cut him off. You move with us. Cal is your next priority if one appears. The prisoner is stable. I won't split what I don't have. Nessa turned to Mira. My right side no longer owns the close work. Mira touched the gate once, confirming it was lost. I adjusted before you said it. Owen and Kite passed through the eastern exit with Cal leading. Dev followed, leaving June inside the machinery roar with the unnamed captive, and a link that failed every third word. At 23:20, water covered the reserve steps. Nessa's shoulder had lost another range of motion, and the next contact was already too close. The capture was real. So was everything it removed. The first shots reached the spillway before 7 cleared the pump house wall. One burst struck the raised shelf ahead, while another answered from the runoff channel below. The interval between them was too tight for a tired pair improvising. June, status. Captive stable. East side contact heard, Nazis, I'm staying put. Keep the door and the link. The spillway offered 2 usable paths. A raised maintenance shelf ran toward North Relay, and a lower channel crossed beneath broken barriers where runoff hid the footing. Kite pulled hard toward the shelf, loading the harness even when Owen shortened the lead. He has the strongest direction since the flood wall, Owen said. More commitment, less detail. What are the people doing? 2 visible, 1 high, 1 low, the line cannot rank them. Cal leaned past a cracked support. Shelf is faster, lower channel rejoins after the bend, but you lose sight between here and there. Mira studied the upper fighter. He's carrying less than the man from the span. The man moved without the burden Nessa expected from the strongest Odor line. His shoulders remained free, and his hands kept changing position. Behind him, another Vesper fighter crossed with a compact bundle, held close beneath one arm before disappearing toward the bend. Separate what we have, Nessa said. Owen watched Kite rather than the men. The dog is committed toward the shelf. Connection is possible. Rank is not. The second man is moving something under cover, Mira said. The first is protecting the crossing. If they reach the bend together, they join north of us, Cal added. The evidence did not offer certainty. But it converged. Kite's strongest pull, a protected movement, a carried load, and a closing route window all pointed toward the same opportunity. Nessa, Owen said, the direction can be accurate and still lead away from the most dangerous human threat. I know. You're ranking the people from the rest of the evidence. Exactly, Mira holds the shelf man. I take the lower crossing. Cal keeps Owen moving. Dev stays free until somebody loses a capability. Mira shifted before Nessa finished. Upper man is yielding. I can cut the join from high. Cut it. Stop at the second barrier. Mira drove along the shelf, and the upper fighter gave ground only far enough to protect the bundled man. Nessa entered the lower channel with her right arm tight against her ribs, using the wall when the revolver hit her shoulder unreliable. For 10 seconds, the choice worked. Myra forced the covering fighter off the direct route. The bundled man stumbled near the bend, and Kite's harness drew harder toward him. Source side is slowing, Mira called. 5 more yards puts me on the join. Take the 5. Movement broke behind Owen before she reached it. A Vesper fighter came through the lower cut where the runoff masked his approach, while another appeared above Cal and drove toward Owen's side. Their timing was coordinated, But Nessa saw the split only after she and Mira had committed across the source axis. Owen, behind you. I have movement. Kite still pulls away from it. Cal turned the lower man. Cal stepped between Owen and the first fighter. The initial impact took his balance. The next forced his lower leg against a broken barrier, and his foot folded beneath him. He hit the concrete and failed to rise. Cal, Dev called. Leg is gone, Cal said. His voice stayed level, though one hand locked around the edge of the shelf. I can hold, I cannot move. For an instant, Nessa saw the route specialist reach for a route his body could no longer take. She buried the reaction before it could delay the only useful command. Dev, Cal is your priority. I'm with him, and I'm not leaving him for a second problem. That removed 2 more people from the maneuver. The upper flanker reached Owen before Mira could return. Owen used his forearm to keep the man from Kite's lead. The impact struck his ribs and threw him against the wet rail. He stayed upright, but the next breath came shallow and the injured arm dropped close to his body. Owen, status. Ribs hit forearm weak, I can move. Kite? With me, his line is still leaving. At the bend, another Vesper fighter met the bundled man and moved away beside him beneath the shelf's broken cover. Kite's strongest pull continued with the departing pair. Mira had the covering fighter nearly trapped against the second barrier. I can take this one, the others gain distance. Can you hold both outcomes? No. A capture would be real, and it would still leave Ozenmunds exposed while the only continuing Odor line disappeared. Cal could not move. Dev could not leave him. June remained behind with the first captive, and a link that barely carried her voice. The human flank pressed Owen again. Can you reach Cal? Nessa asked. Not without releasing the lead or crossing the fighter. Hold where you are, do not follow the Odor alone. Mira struck the covering fighter away from the barrier, then stopped short of the capture on her own. She shifted enough to keep the departing pair visible without surrendering the route back to Owen. Taking him costs Owen and the movement, she said. I'm keeping sight instead. Nessa felt the old impulse to pull Mira back by command, then let Mira's judgment stand. Stay with that choice. A fresh burst cut the shelf between them and Owen, forcing the 2 sides behind separate concrete breaks. Nessa and Mira remained together south of the split. Owen and Kite were isolated on the north side, injured but mobile. Cal lay below with Dev fixed beside him, while June held the pump house captive behind them. June, Nessa called. 2 contact directions heard. Captive remains stable. I have no visual on you. Keep what you have. Owen's breathing shortened over the open link. Kite is pulling away from this fight, north of the bend. Can you move yourself? Yes, slower. One arm is weak. Do not follow alone. The line is accurate. I did not say Sit was wrong. The presumed carrier remained close enough to pressure, but the most dangerous human action was happening around Owen. Those facts had separated, and Nessa could no longer rank them as one problem. Mira looked across the gap. Source side or Owen? Owen. They get the bend. We keep the handler, Kite, and the people who can still move. At 23:55, the departing pair vanished beyond the spillway cover. Nessa turned away from North Relay and faced the lateral distance to Owen. We fight across to him. The source waits. Nessa and Mira turned sideways across the spillway, while Kite's strongest pull continued toward North Relay. Owen was less than 200 yards away. But Vesper held the concrete breaks between them and made every section of apron cost more than its distance. Owen, mark yourself. North apron, behind the split barrier, 2 fighters between us. Kite still wants past them. Can you move? Short distance, ribs restrict breath, and the forearm will not hold full tension. Keep yourself alive and keep the line, we're crossing. Mira glanced toward the relayward route they were surrendering. Every yard sideways gives them the objective. Count the cost, don't worship it. I'm counting. The first Vesper fighter advanced whenever Nessa stepped into the open and fell back when Mira closed, trading concrete for seconds while water hammered the apron below them. Nessa kept her damaged shoulder away from contact, while Mira bought each gap with footing, breath, and the risk of being separated again. June's voice broke through the link. Pump house secure, captive stable. I hear movement east of you, but I cannot place it. Stay with the prisoner. Dev followed a moment later. Cal is conscious. He is not moving. I have one priority, and it remains him. No change. They crossed a drainage cut, while North Relay's pulse disappeared behind the intervening wall. Runoff tugged at Nessa's boots, and the rifle dragged lower because her right shoulder would no longer steady it. 100 meters gone, Mira said. 4 minutes. Keep the second half cleaner. Owen's next report came between shortened breaths. They're pressing the barrier. Kite keeps trying beyond them. I can manage the lead or protect the outside, not both. That is why we are coming. A fighter broke toward Mira, forcing her to turn him away while Nessa crossed a bare strip of concrete. A second man entered from the north without the burden she expected, staying near Owen as another, cleaner moving figure withdrew along Kite's direction. Wrong roll is staying to block us, Mira said. The mismatch matters, Nessa replied. It does not answer it yet. The fine-truss approach compressed into a narrow apron where Owen could no longer retreat without giving up the only cover between Kite and the fighters, and each pause made his breathing more audible over the link. Nessa's shoulder failed when she caught a rail, and she let the weapon hang rather than lose another second to a grip she no longer had. They reached Owen after 8 minutes. Mira gave the final measure. 180 meters lost. Owen stood behind the split barrier with one arm near his ribs. Kite strained forward in the wet harness, slower than before but still committed. Nessa took in Owen's guarded breath and the tremor in his lead hand. Choosing him had cost ground. Arriving late enough to see the cost made it no less necessary. 3 mobile fighters together, she said. Split again. The Vesper man who had stayed near Owen tried to clear the barrier. Mira drove him into the narrow apron, where Nessa closed the route back without asking her shoulder to overpower him. Temporary control, Mira said. Make it by observation, not pride. Kite turned toward the man. His harness slackened, and he took 2 steps toward the wet ground beside him before hesitating. Owen watched the behavior first. Brief interest. It could be odor on him, the surface, or contamination from contact. The man twisted toward the north opening. Owen shortened the lead, but his weakened forearm failed to absorb the first pull. Resetting, he said through a tight breath. Mira kept the fighter away from Owen while another Vesper man arrived from the relay side, with steadier balance and quieter breathing than the cells already spent against 7. During the collision, the controlled fighter pulled a dark strip of cloth from beneath his outer layer and shoved it into the newcomer's hand. Cloth changed hands, Nessa said. The relieving fighter turned away immediately. Owen reoriented Kite. The dog checked the pinned man once more, abandoned him, and loaded the harness toward the departing cloth through 3 changes of footing. He left the brief interest, Owen said. The stronger pull is going with the other man. Your narrowest conclusion? The source kept moving. I cannot tell you who matters most. Vesper struck the apron from the north opening. Myra released the wrong roll fighter to prevent Owen from being cut off. And the man recovered his feet before withdrawing with the others. 7 kept no prisoner and no cloth. Nessa had seen enough for an operational change, though not enough for certainty. The dog is following a tagged odor source that passes through different people. Direction remains useful. Human identity does not. Contamination still exists, Owen said. I would not identify anyone from this alone. Good, we stop asking you to rank them. The conclusion became a new assignment instead of another explanation. Mira, leave the departing carrier, hold the relay approach. Owen, give me direction only. I rank the human threat. 3 fighters crossed beyond the north opening. Their pace was faster than the exhausted pairs behind them, and the wet footing did not shorten their stride or open their breathing. Those 3 have not paid what the others paid, Myra said. Observed, meaning still open. At 0020, Nessa, Mira and injured, Owen stood rejoined with Kite after losing 8 minutes and 180 meters. The Odor still pointed north, but it no longer carried a reliable human identity, and fresher bodies were waiting near North Relay. The relay approach rose through a narrow service cut, while Kite pulled west of the route. 7 needed to defend. Owen kept the lead in his stronger hand and the other arm close to his ribs, moving carefully enough that each breath stayed under control. The source is strong and still going west, he said. The 3 people ahead are a separate problem. Myra counted 1 pair low and a 3rd figure above them. They're keeping us below the next relay marker. Nessa opened the broken link. June, what reaches you? Pump house secure, captive stable. I hear contact east of you, but the wall gives me no count. Keep the distinction. North Relay flashed through the rain, then disappeared behind the next rise. The fresher fighters did not rush. They took 1 barrier at a time, forcing 7 to spend time without offering a clean, close fight. We solved why the Odor changes people, Owen said. Their timing is still too exact. So we make the timing choose, Nessa replied. Mira looked toward the relay. During contact? There is no other kind left. The lower pair changed spacing when Mira edged closer to Owen, but the shift could still be ordinary pressure. Nessa needed a difference that could fail. Owen stated it plainly. If they track where you appear to command, they follow a false command position. If they track whom you visibly protect, they follow the support. First condition. Move the command picture and keep protection the same. So response means position is the weaker explanation. Then shift support toward Cal and Dev. If they follow that, protection is the better one. Mira watched the distance to the relay marker shrink behind hostile bodies. We pay for both conditions. We pay once and learn twice. Ness moved behind a broken marker where the lower opening could see her silhouette. Myra kept the center, and Owen stayed with Kite under the same practical cover as before. False command point set, Nessa said. Nobody changes protection. The Vesper pair continued pressing Mira and Owen. 1 man leaned toward the center while the other watched the handler's cover. Neither shifted toward Nessa. 10 seconds, Mira said. Hold. A burst struck concrete beside Owen, and another cut across Mira's route. The false command point remained untouched. 20 seconds, Owen said. No change toward you. June's voice fractured through static. Contact continues near the relay. I hear nothing new on the west side of your cut. Nessa waited through another white pulse. The pair still ignored her position through the full relay pulse. Negative result, she said. They are not following my location closely enough to govern the timing. Mira did not turn. Second condition. Make support toward Cal and Dev visible. Keep the relay responsibility. The order tightened something beneath Nessa's ribs that the shoulder injury had nothing to do with. Cal could not move and Dev had one priority. Using their exposed route as a visible signal risked the people she had already failed to keep mobile. The alternative was to let Rake keep reading the same protection pattern without testing it. Mira looked once toward Cal's route before answering. I can show support from 2 barriers lower and still contest the center. Any farther, the next relay marker goes. Use 2, no third. Mira shifted down the approach and opened her spacing toward the casualty route. She called Dev on the link while keeping her body angled toward the center. Dev, give me Cal's movement limit. None. He stays where he is and I stay with him. Copy the limit, not the location, Mira said. I'm showing your side support. The Vesper reaction began before she completed the second move. Low pair changing, Owen said. Both away from the false command point. Mira saw the bodies cross first. They're coming toward the casualty route. High man is covering them. June's report arrived a beat later. Two shapes moving toward the spillway side, brief visual. Direction confirmed, purpose is not. The pair ignored Nessa's silhouette and drove toward the side Mira had just reinforced. One fighter fixed Mira behind the lower barrier, while the second crossed far enough to threaten the route back to Cal and Dev. 20 yards gone, Mira said. Keep the support visible for 5 more seconds. That costs the next barrier. Nessa wanted to pull her back. The impulse was the old answer Rake had learned, and she let it pass without turning into a command. 5 seconds, then choose your center again. Mira held. The second fighter advanced another opening, matching the protection shift while leaving Nessa's false location untouched. Owen looked west, where Kite's harness remained loaded. The Odor is leaving. Human pressure is concentrating on the protected side. The lower pair reached the edge of the casualty route, then stopped when Mira's visible support stabilized. Their high cover withdrew first, and the pair followed instead of pressing for a finish. One cell disengaging, Mira said. They did what they came to do, or somebody relieved them. I can't tell which. June listened. Footsteps moving away from Cal's side, heard now, not seen. Nessa left the false command point and returned to center. The result had survived both predictions and cost them 30 yards. Rake is not reading my exact position, she said. He is reading who I visibly protect. Owen gave a small nod, then tightened the conclusion. That fits the test. It does not tell us how the observation reaches him. It doesn't need to. We change what we show. Mira looked back at the surrendered barriers. We keep the answer and lose the ground. The source pulled farther west while the 3 relay side fighters moved forward earlier than their previous pace suggested. One spent cell vanished from the approach as the fresher group closed the distance. They accelerated, Mira said. They're coming now. At 0050, the false command marker stood unanswered behind Nessa. The casualty side route was 30 yards closer to Vesper, and the tagged Odor continued west. Ahead, the fresh force had begun its approach to North Relay. The strongest source turned west as the strongest human force entered North Relay. Kite pulled after the departing cloth, but the 3 relay side fighters climbed with level breathing, matched spacing, and balance to spare. Behind them, an exhausted pair withdrew with shortened strides and open mouths. Mira saw the difference before Nessa named it. Source is west, these 3 are coming clean and fast. Owen braced the lead with his weakened forearm. Kite still wants the cloth, he cannot tell us which problem governs. The replacement points and increasingly fresh contacts aligned in Nessa's mind. He kept sending tired men out and fresh men in. Leave the source, Mira holds the relay approach. Owen gives timing. Kite denies 1 lane, I take center. Mira was already turning away from the westward pull. I'm not chasing cloth while those 3 own the relay. West stays open, the approach does not. The tagged source continued west. Owen redirected Kite toward the lower opening, denying one route and surrendering the other. 1 lane, he said. My arm will not hold a second change. 1 is the assignment, do not promise 2. 1 on me, 1 on Owen, Mira said. Third man is directing from the steps. None of them wasted breath on recovery, and each correction arrived before the previous motion had fully ended. They have strength left, Nessa said. Make them spend it. Mira gave 1 step under the first collision, planted against the wet rail, and stopped giving ground. Center man wants the relay platform. Lower man wants Owen separated. Keep the steps. Owen, tell me when the lower route changes. Owen moved despite the catch in his breathing. Kite filled the opening, with enough forward intent to make the lower fighter hesitate and choose the center instead. The west lanes remained uncovered, and the Vesper fragment carrying the cloth disappeared beyond the service wall. "West is gone," Owen said. "Source with him. I cannot turn and keep this lane." "Do not turn." Nessa abandoned the unstable high position, moved closer to Mara only since her fighter committed, changing the timing without repeating the old pattern. The upper Vesper man saw the adjustment and signaled twice. Both fighters changed direction immediately, and a relay pulse lit the commander's face. Nessa recognized the upright figure from the flood wall. One man below called to him. "Rake, center is closing." "Same man," Nessa said. "Rake is in the fight." Mira kept her eyes on the approach. "Then he finally has to pay for his own timing." Rake sent the lower fighter toward Owen and descended the relay steps himself. He saw Nessa's protected shoulder, tested it with the first impact, and drove her right arm against the metal housing. Pain ran into her hand and weakened the grip. Nessa shifted left before he could repeat the pressure. "Mira, take his exit. Owen, call the lower timing." Owen drew a careful breath. "Lower man committed. Kite holds him for 3 seconds. After that I lose the lead angle." "Use the 3. Kite occupied the lower opening under Owen's control. The fighter checked his advance rather than force through, and Mira used the pause to close the relay side escape behind Rake. Rake changed direction as soon as he felt the exit narrow. He drove toward Nessa's damaged side, then turned toward Mira when Nessa refused to pull away from the center threat. "I am not waiting for you to save my lane," Mira said. Her boots slid half a step, found the rail, and held. "I have him. Keep the center off the relay." Nessa wanted to answer the collision, but kept her attention on the fighter, reaching the platform, and let Mira own the risk. "Center is on the first step," Mira called. "He still has full pace." Nessa turned his speed into the platform edge and closed the route around it before he recovered. "Lower opening releasing," Owen called. "Kite is fading. Fighter moving center." "Bring yourself, not the opening." Owen shortened Kite's task and climbed. His pace was uneven, and the lead shook in his injured hand. But he reached the platform before the lower fighter could join Rake. Mira drove Rake from the west exit. He struck her shoulder and crossed behind Nessa, trapping Nessa's right hand against the relay housing. Her fingers opened. She tried once to close them, and felt nothing secure enough to trust. The failed grip changed more than the weapon in her hand. Every close task now had to belong to someone else. "Nessa?" Owen called. Dominant hand failed, command intact. She shifted every remaining physical task to the left. "Mira keeps Rake alive. Owen, deny his support for 1 beat, then take Kite out of pressure." "I can give 1 beat," Owen said. "No, second." "Both support fighters are moving to Rake," Owen said. "I can separate one at the lower opening." Owen and Kite did that while Nessa stayed with the center man, instead of rushing to Mira. Mira used the space to drive Rake against the relay barrier. Rain slicked the metal under them, and Rake kept shifting his feet to regain the westward angle. "He is still working the exit," Mira said. "No surrender." "Center fighter is crossing to Rake," Mira said. "I need the route closed, not help on him." Nessa forced his next step onto the platform edge and kept him from Mira, her open hand striking her vest with each movement. "Rake contained," Mira said. "Still resisting. Keep him breathing. Take away the root." Rake tried to turn between Mira and the barrier. Mira held him against the wet rail, while Owen arrived on the opposite side, breathing hard. His balance is going toward the steps. "Close the steps," Nessa said. Owen took the steps himself. With the barrier behind Rake and Mira closing the other side, Rake lost room to rebuild his stance. He tried once more to turn toward the west exit, found only wet rail and Owen's guarded position. And his resistance slowed until Mira could hold him without giving up the relay. The last fighter broke west. Owen stayed with the lower route, while Nessa forced the man back toward the relay steps, and Mira removed the turn. His boot slipped on the metal edge. He struck the lower rail, failed to regain his footing, and did not re-enter the fight. West Lane remains open, Owen said. Only the earlier fragment cleared it. Nessa checked the visible approach. No second body followed the escaped cloth. Do not chase what has already gone. Hold the relay. Their timing is breaking, Owen said. No new signal from Rake. The remaining fighter hesitated between the lower route and the west exit. And Seven used that hesitation to hold the wet platform without reopening the source chase. Mira kept Rake against the barrier, adjusting her position when he tested it once more. He was injured, breathing, and no longer able to resume the fight. Rake alive, she said. I have custody. Owen stood beside Kite at the lower opening. Dog stays with me, handling strength is reduced, and we are finished denying ground. Position only. Dev's remote voice reached them. Cal remains non-mobile. I remain with him. June followed through the degraded link. Pump house captive accounted for. I am fixed until you clear movement. Stay there. The corridor moves after the threat does. Nessa looked west once. The tagged cloth and one Vesper fragment were gone because 3 fighters could not hold both routes and win the relay. We keep north relay, she said. West remains lost. At 0130, Mira held Rake alive. Owen remained with Kite, and the relay approach belonged to 7. Nessa could still give commands, but her dominant hand hung open against her vest and would not close. At 0130, North Relay remained in 7's hands. Mira held Rake against the wet barrier, keeping his roots closed without relaxing, simply because the fight had ended. He was alive, injured, and no longer resisting. Rake secure, she said. Separate custody. You own it, Nessa replied. Her right shoulder would not lift the same load, and the dominant hand still refused to close. She rested the open hand against her vest, instead of testing it again. Spison stood beside Kite with one arm near his ribs and his breath shortened by every movement. The wet harness dragged against his leg, but the dog's work for the night was finished. He can move with me, Owen said. No renewed track, I can hold one lead and nothing else. Take the lead. You own what Kite shows, I retain threat ranking. Owen shifted the line into his stronger hand. His answer came after a small pause, not from reluctance, but from the effort of accepting a division they had reached through cost. I have him. Dev's voice soothed the relay from below. Cal is conscious and still non-mobile. I stay with him. Rake gets a brief check after Cal can spare me, not before. Cal remains first. Myra adjusted when Rake tested the barrier with one shoulder. He is not going anywhere. Keep him able to remain that way. The relay pulse crossed the platform and showed the marks left by the fight. Water on the steps, the open west route, Owen's uneven stance, and Nessa's hand lying useless against her vest. Nothing in the machinery had chosen the outcome. Nessa opened the degraded link. June, the corridor is secure. Give me the first captive. Static swallowed part of the reply before June repeated it. Alive, disarmed, and unable to rejoin a fight. Pump house doors appear clear from my position. You are authorized to move him here. Keep him below the main platform and separate from Rake. I'll move after I verify the passage one section at a time. Report only what you can confirm. June's signal broke again, then returned with measured footsteps and the captive's slower movement. She did not ask for a summary, and Nessa did not turn the transfer into one. Mira looked toward the western opening. The fragment and the tagged source cleared. They remain outside containment. We do not restart the pursuit. Kite shifted once toward the west, and Owen shortened the lead before the dog could load it. Interest remains. It is not a new assignment. No mission there, Nessa said. At 0142, June reached the lower relay approach with the unnamed captive. She kept him beneath the platform and well away from Mira's position, preserving two custody problems instead of pretending they were one. First captive accounted for, June said. The link is worse after the move. Keep him below, Mira keeps Rake. Clear. Dev came to the platform only long enough to assess whether Rake could remain in custody. His attention returned toward Cal before he finished speaking. Rake is alive and non-combat effective. That is all I can give him. Cal still owns my time. Go back. Dev left without waiting for praise or permission twice. The team had become smaller without losing a name, and every remaining task now exposed the limit of the person carrying it. Cal remained where he had fallen, and Dev's priority kept him below the platform. June carried a captive and a failing link. Mira held Rake by her own judgment. Owen could lead Kite only at reduced strength. And Nessa's command no longer included the physical tasks her right side had performed at the flood wall. She did not try to restore the old arrangement. Mira, custody authority for Rake stays with you. If his condition changes, you decide what the movement allows. I'll keep him separate and breathing. June, the first captive, stays yours until withdrawal. Understood. Dev, Cal moves only when you say the load can move. Confirmed. By 0158, both captives were alive under separate guards. Cal remained below with Dev, and the western source remained unrecovered. North Relay was still held because Seventh had chosen the human threat over complete containment. Nessa looked at Owen's stronger hand, Heitzley's, and at Mira's tispitch over Rake. The changed work no longer felt like a temporary accommodation. It was the honest shape of what remained. At 0200, the storm window closed. Owen held Kite's lead, while Nessa raised her left hand toward the secured withdrawal route. Mira moves first with Rake. June follows with the other captive. Owen keeps Kite beside him. 7 moves